Okay, everybody. Hi, I am Helen Terry, and I'm actually here at Soma Ranch studio. And here with me, I have the one, the only, the most fabulous Mr. Paul Duff. We have been on this journey together of co-teaching and doing our challenges every month. Now we're going into our ninth month. Can you believe that?
Wow. It's a lot and fabulous. Where's the year gone? Oh,
Yeah, I was really inspired after experiencing your Fun Friday class this morning. I was like, let's have a conversation. I wanted to connect with you anyway. And I think sometimes when we have these conversations, I love being able to share with our immediate community and then anyone else there in cyber world who wants to see what's going on in our world. What started off as this idea that we weren't sure where we were going and we didn't really know each other very well. I had this place of I've been doing these challenges on my own, and I'd like to see how I could do this with a group of people instead. And I specifically chose people who had been teaching for a while, had what I say the X factor. I think each of you on the team have something that is the unteachable, the stuff that I can't teach that you already have. And then I also saw each of you as being teachable in things. And for me, this experience has worked out really well. How about you? That's a bit of a loaded question, maybe.
it has no. One of the reasons why I said yes to the experience was that I knew I was just stepping into teaching Nia after decades of teaching other things, and that having a regular destination in terms of a regular, you have to have a class ready on this date and on this date and on this date would accelerate my stepping in. Whereas left to my own devices, I could still be in the place of, I need to learn a routine first. And instead, I taught what you call a blue monkey this morning, which was unthinkable in January for me. Like I would watch you teach that sort of class and think, oh, never.
Yeah. Anybody who's watching a blue monkey, and I'm going to do a whole other thing about how that came about, but a blue monkey is basically where we invite the community to make requests of songs, and then most often we put that on shuffle. So we don't know the songs, we don't know the order, and we might have an idea or not of how we're going to put moves to the music, and a lot of creative flow. So yes, so at the beginning of the month you were like, there's no way. And now I feel like this has evolved into this is your thing.
Yeah,
You found your jam.
I did. And it was, a progression of playing in the Nia space with original Nia and adaptations, which I love and I've done a lot of. And then the 52 move shuffle, which people may or may not know, but that's another, it kind of starts to play in that, you know, improv form and freedom space. And the blue monkey is sort of like it makes sense in my body that that's been a progression. Um, and I'm loving all of it. Actually, they all bring different. The times when I teach original Nia to original Nia music has a certain grounding and a certain nourishment. So I like all of it.
Yeah, I do. I like the variety on that continuum, all the way from absolute form to complete freedom and how we can do that. And I think so. I'm glad hearing that actually it was the scheduling and the commitment. Like I said, teach like 2 or 3 classes a month was the commitment from each of y'all, and you've done that so well. And we've sort of found like how Elaine has more of her moving to heal, and she'll bring in more ageless grace. That's her vibe, and she'll often land on a Tuesday. And then Natasha definitely has evolved. Like I think she's the tightest with choreography and detail. And like, man, how her mind is able to come up with all of that stuff is wonderful. And then really her wheelhouse has been the near 5 stages.
Yeah,
I feel
so
like she's
good, so good.
really found her groove. And that's like an example too. Like one Saturday when I asked her to do a back to back and she did 5 stages and then the 10 a.m. class. And afterwards, Natasha was like, I don't usually do that. I'm usually prepared before each class. And that was quite challenging for me. And I thought, oh, maybe I encouraged a little bit too soon here. And then Natasha, like a few weeks later, she was like, I want to do that again. And she's found that actually it's like a conditioning program that we find where each other is, we find where our groove is, what our wheelhouse is. And then it's like, how can I take safe risk? How can I stretch? And what I like about it is within our teaching community and then our community of people who are taking classes, that there is this beautiful safety and not only permission, but encouragement, safety for us to be us, to teach the classes, and encouragement for us to take those safe risks. I think our community enjoys bringing that. Yeah.
And I love that the community, it's not it's not simply blind enthusiasm. There is also feedback, which I have found very smart, very useful, very embodied, where it's, I loved your class and I noticed this thing, or I noticed this sensation. And what do you think about that? And is that something that you might do differently? Like it's never, it always feels nourishing. It never feels punitive when you get feedback. And sometimes the conversations have nothing to do with the class. It literally has to do with what their experience was or how people's lives are going. And I love how that sense of community also nourishes the classes. Like it's a lovely feedback from both teaching and community and everything in between. So yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that feedback too is like in our group, we have people who have been experienced NIA teachers themselves for a long time, all the way through to people who have never heard of NIA before, who aren't teachers, and everything in between. And I do love how there's, rather than, I don't know what the right words are, but there's not like a hierarchy where, oh, these people know more than others. Like I learned so much from the outspoken people who are brand new to moving, who have never actually moved before, and how they are just like open and providing feedback. And there is like, without there being a written code, you're right that there seems to be this thing that as a community we praise and find something good in the experience we're having, and then we constructively share, and have you thought of this and have you thought of that? And I personally find that to be the best way to develop as a teacher, yeah, is receiving great feedback that is also constructive, yeah, rather than destructive, I guess. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, hey, so let's talk about your Fun Friday evolution thing. This morning you were sharing how I have 30 years experience with the Blue Monkey and how you come in with a little under 2 years of experience of teaching. And Blue Monkey, like you said in January, was like, I've never done something like this. And now you're able to step in from, we already had Fun Friday and we already had the format, but you took the idea and just put wheels on it and dressed it up ready for I don't know, some kind of parade or something. I think like the whole thing of the shuffle, which is 30 seconds of each move, which makes it a 30-minute class experience. I really like how you bring thought in advance of the theme. Like today's class was all around words that are to do with movement and choreography. Yeah, like sway, stop, go. And that, again, the songs that came up for today's class. I mean, what did you think of the playlist?
I loved the playlist. And true confessions, when I come up with an idea for a playlist, it's also a way to help me. In other words, so for example, one of the songs this morning was Come Fly With Me by Frank Sinatra. And so immediately you have the help of flying, images around flying, movement around flying. So or and I've done playlists that have visual like glitter and like, but though for me those words speak to movement. So I try, I I work to choose playlists that I hope the music will actually spark things for me. Um, which is why I'm often very wordy about saying I would love songs that do this, because I'm relying on those songs to nourish the class. Which, if I'm nourished, hopefully I'm providing a nourishing experience. So that's how that happens.
Yeah, and then another classic example of that for me, the first song that comes on happened to be my song I love. And it was like, stop in the name of love. And you built the warm up so beautifully, one hand and then the other. And then there is that thing of, by you asking the community to come up with song requests, that often this music is music that we know already, that we have memories and experiences to, and we can naturally predict easily the chorus, like you're in it, and I'm like, oh, what's he going to do for stop? And how you went into stop, and you put your hands up in the name of love, and so that beautiful creativity that you have that comes with ease, you're slightly giggling, giving us a little commentary as you go along in your experience, and all of those things. I think that's part of the Paul Duff brand underneath the umbrella of what is this 30-day challenge thing that we do. It's the Paul brand. So genius. Really. Yeah. So I think at some point you and I could really cook up a fun workshop together. What do you think about it?
I
Um,
think that sounds amazing, and I do think there's benefit for whether it's a student or a teacher student, uh, that you have all the experience, and I have decades in body, but I'm new to Nia. But both of those things have things to offer.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I simply did the workshop, it'd almost be like throwing people into the swimming pool and they'd be like, how do I paddle? How do I do this? Whereas I can throw it out there and then you can be like, and if you want to, this is the floaty that you can put on your arms. And this is how I found my way into the
yes,
pool.
I was drowning, and then I realized if I did this thing.
Yeah, so it'd be really great to do that. So I just want to say thank you so much for being part of the team and for what you bring. You really are an asset. And then here we are getting ready for the next month. So September is going to be the focus of core. We began this series in August with the base, and then in October we'll be going into upper extremities. So core, definitely bringing in the 7 Nia moves of the core: pelvic circles, hip bumps, chest isolation, shimmy, the spinal undulations, the spinal roll, and the head-eye movement. So they will be featured. Also, I'm really looking forward to bringing in chakras, and I'm going to do a special event around chakras and the old Nia experience. Some of you have been requesting that I bring back oldies. So Chakra Dancer will definitely be a special event I'm looking at putting on. And then you're teaching a couple of classes and you had this great idea around corny.
So, as I play in the Fun Friday space, my mind is always looking for connections or wordplay. And we have core, the month of core, and Fun Friday, which sounds to me like corny. So one of my classes will likely have a playlist that is corny songs. Um, uh, and that's everything from maybe the theme song from a TV show or a commercial jingle that gets stuck in your head. Or there's some of those pop songs that we love so much at the time they come out, and 20 years later, we listen to them and think, oh, really? That's really over. Just either the emotion or the words. And so that's what I'm going for with that. And it should be a lot of fun because it will either be silly or, oh, syrupy, sweet corn. So candy corn. There we go. It'll be, yeah. And I'm teaching on Tuesday, I believe. And so I might pull way back and work on uh, Nia music, Nia moves. I haven't done that in a while. So we'll be having freedom and some form from me in September.
Yeah. Well, that sounds lovely. Thank you so much for being part of this team, for saying yes, for how I am learning so much from you. I think that's a real sign of just, it's just co-creation of, I've spent most of my career being like a sole teacher and doing my own business. And this year has been a really wonderful example for me of how much pleasure and joy can be experienced from being part of an awesome team. And you're really part of that great team. So I want to say thank you. And then anything else you want to add um, about the group or about the challenge?
Well, you talked a bit about the teaching team, and from my perspective, I want to acknowledge a few other things. You, who have the historical knowledge, all the routines, and all these interesting adaptations, and sometimes an ability to just strip back, just do a kata, a song, or just your if we were talking about language, your ability to speak the language very easily. It has been helpful for me to see, oh, I'm casting myself in the future in 5 years or 10 years. Oh, okay, that's how it goes. That's what you find. That's how you develop. So there's you, lots of nourishment. Irene, I had never had much experience with Feldenkrais, and um, all those classes always give me some deep insight to how my body works, how my body feels, and I find myself as I'm teaching, as I'm learning teaching, as I'm taking other people's classes, my mind returning to noticing my body learning, noticing my body organizing itself, noticing my body. So it's brought a whole nother level of sensation to me as a human, not just as a teacher. So Irene and Feldenkrais is amazing. And the Saturday instructors who come in, some of the best humans in the NIA space, delivering amazing classes. So all of that, for me, the student, um, has been amazing. So
Yeah, that is lovely. And I agree with you. Irene's input, she's been gone this month and she's back next month. I'm really excited about that. That we have pretty much almost every Wednesday that Irene brings in these beautiful 30-minute Feldenkrais classes. Yeah. And then the teachers on Saturdays is Erin Curren, Martha Randall, Kellie Chambers, and Maria Whitley. And yeah, we seem to have, it's about 2 Saturdays a month that will have a special, I really see them as being the special Saturday presenters. So yeah, I agree with you. What a team. Thank you for mentioning them. And yeah, and then we have to make sure before the end of the year, you and I are going to do a Kelly Clarkson duo. Yeah, we have said somehow we're going to create that as a special event, which I think will be great. And then also we're going to see if we can get, it's like getting the band back together. We're going to see if the whole team can do a jam. Yeah. And
yeah.
so we'll all be teaching together. So watch the space for that. We need to find the dates and make that happen. And then we're carrying on this next year. So the adventure may continue. We'll see how it morphs into a new theme for next year. But I'm really glad you're here. We're heading into fall here. And I think it's a great time for celebrating what has happened and really enjoying the next 4 months that we have of this year. And I like how this kind of challenge, like you said, how the challenge for you is the commitment of I've got to show up for these certain dates. I think that's right where a lot of people who sign up for this challenge is simply that by them signing up and they know they've got 30 classes in 30 days, they can do them live or on the recording, they can get support through the Facebook group. But there is that, oh, I've paid for this, I've committed to this, I've got a group of people who can help me with my accountability, that I think that does help people show up and it helps people really feel supported and encouraged. Yeah. So
Yeah, I remember my first month with the 30-day challenge. There was a little bit in my head. I was a little cranky about it. I was like, I don't think I can every day. And this was as a student, not as a teacher. I was just as a student. And then I was like, okay, one day at a time, show up, move, show up, move, show up, move. And whether on the recording or in person, I was there. I did it all of the days. And what kept me coming back or and had me say yes, another reason I said yes this experience is my body felt good. My mind felt good. And I realized that it isn't always possible for everybody to have that level of commitment every month. And you never will if you never do. If you never step in, if you never offer yourself the opportunity, it's like the lottery. You can't win if you don't play. So you don't get the benefits if you don't do it. And yeah, so I invite people to to treat themselves. So yeah.
That's really well put. Thank you. And then we have this thing of there's nothing forced, nothing pushed. Sometimes people arrive late. Sometimes people um, they maybe need to leave early. And and that's really looking at how we all have lives where we can come and go. I do like the play that I say, if someone comes live for at least 10 minutes in every class for all the 30 classes, they get the next month for free, which is fun. And when people sign up by the 28th, they can bring a friend for free. And I love how we bring that in. So we just take away one of the barriers of the finances, that a friend can come in. And then those friends, that they have a support system within it. And how beautiful, like Anne this month with her sister Ellen, and she invited her sister, and they live in different states, but I get to see them dancing together via Zoom, and mothers and daughters and friends and reconnections. So all lovely ways of connecting. Yeah. So thanks for the chat, Paul. I really appreciate you. And on for another month. Thank you.
Thanks.